If you think saying the right words will bring her back, you're already losing her. She doesn't come back for words. She comes back for who you become in silence. This isn't about games. It's about psychology. It's about power. It's about becoming the man she can't forget, even when she tries. She will come back 100% if you understand and apply these steps without compromise. Let's begin. 1. Stop trying to be understood and start being unavailable. When a woman leaves, most men rush to explain themselves. They want closure, they want to be heard, and deep down, they want to be chosen again. But here's what they fail to understand. The more you try to be understood, the more you look like a man who can't stand being left. You start arguing your value instead of living it. And when you argue your worth, it depreciates instantly. Let's be brutally honest. Words don't bring her back. Availability doesn't make her curious. You could write the perfect text, pour your heart out, and even promise to change, but if she's not emotionally receptive, it won't land. All she'll hear is noise. The only thing that shifts her perception is contrast. She needs to feel the sudden silence of your energy, your presence, your emotional access. That silence should interrupt her expectations. She thought you'd chase, she thought you'd explain, but instead you vanished, not out of spite, but out of power. This is where most men fail. They think staying present, staying kind, and staying emotionally available shows strength. But to a woman who's already pulled away, it just confirms that she still holds emotional power over you. So stop being emotionally available. Stop trying to be understood. Start becoming unavailable in every way that used to feed her attention. You don't have to cut her off in anger. You don't have to be cold. But you do need to vanish from her emotional radar. She won't feel your presence anymore. And that absence, when done right, becomes haunting. She'll replay moments not because you begged, but because you stopped showing up. The man who is unavailable becomes a mystery, and the mystery is what brings her back every time. 2. Create a void so powerful. It echoes. Most men think distance is the enemy, that if she's pulling away, you need to run toward her, say something, do something, close the gap. But here's what they never realize. Women only feel the loss when you stop rushing to fix it. And that's exactly what the void is about. When you withdraw, not just your presence, but your energy, you create an emotional vacuum, one that used to be filled with your attention, your concern, your reactions. And when that suddenly disappears, it echoes in her world in ways you can't imagine. The problem is most men confuse space with passivity. They think, if I don't act, I'll lose her forever. But true power doesn't chase. It holds position. It lets the other person feel the shift without interference. Here's how this works. Stop watching her stories. Stop liking her posts. Don't respond to breadcrumbs. Don't seek updates or send just checking in texts. In fact, remove yourself completely from any emotional exchange. This isn't to punish her. It's to preserve your self-respect. Women are tuned into energy more than logic. They don't come back because of a well-written apology. They come back because your silence forced them to confront a world without you in it. The man who keeps messaging, watching, and hovering is easy to forget, but the man who disappears completely, calmly, and confidently becomes unforgettable. Create that void. Let it stretch wide. Let her feel how much space you used to fill. And while you're silent, let her sit with the version of herself that no longer has access to you. In time, the echoes of that space start speaking louder than your words ever could. 3. Become the man. She thought you couldn't be without her. Here's a hard truth. Most women leave thinking you'll fall apart without them. They expect you to spiral, to chase, to break. And when you do exactly that, you confirm her assumptions. But when you evolve instead, when you rise without her, you shatter everything she believed about your value. You want her back? Then don't focus on fixing the relationship. Focus on fixing the man you became inside it. Ask yourself, where did I lose my edge? Where did I stop showing up for myself? Was I neglecting my body, my mission, my standards? Now is the time to become the man she never imagined you could be without her. The man who doesn't seek validation from anyone. The man who trains with discipline, who reads with intensity, who builds his life with purpose. A man so focused on his journey that even if she does return, he may not take her back. Here's the psychological twist. Women are drawn to growth, especially when it happens in their absence. When she sees you getting sharper, calmer, more powerful, without a single ounce of bitterness, that contrast creates internal conflict. She starts questioning her choice. She starts watching. She starts regretting. But none of this works if you're just pretending. You can't fake growth to get her back. You must outgrow the need to get her back. Becoming this man isn't about revenge. It's about rebirth. It's about rebuilding your frame, your presence, your energy to a level where she no longer defines your worth. When she sees that evolution, whether next month or next year, it'll be undeniable. You won't need to speak. You won't need to prove anything, because by then she'll realize she didn't leave the same man who now stands before her. 4. Let stillness be louder than her doubts. You don't have to raise your voice to be heard. Sometimes silence screams the loudest. Most men, when faced with distance, panic. They speak, they explain, they try to fix what can only be felt. But here's the reality. If your energy is anxious, she feels it. If your presence is erratic, she distances further. What you need is stillness. Stillness is not about doing nothing. It's about doing nothing outwardly, while everything inward is aligning. Stillness is a weapon. It's emotional control disguised as indifference. But here's the key. It's not fake. You're not pretending to be calm. You're learning to be. A man in stillness becomes unpredictable. He becomes a question mark. And in psychology, the mind is drawn more to uncertainty than certainty. Women don't think about the man who always reacts. They think about the one who didn't. This is how you become unforgettable. You stop feeding the story. You stop showing up in expected ways. You stop letting her dictate your emotional pace. Stillness means you don't chase, but you also don't hate. You don't react, but you don't freeze either. You move with grace, with power, with intention. She will test that stillness. She might poke, breadcrumb, or bait you to respond. But the more you resist, the more power you accumulate. In a world of emotional volatility, the calm man stands out. He doesn't try to control. He doesn't fight for validation. He just is. And that stillness, it becomes a presence she can't stop feeling, even when you're nowhere near her. 5. Make her regret your absence, not miss your messages. Let's get this straight. She doesn't miss your texts. She doesn't miss your good mornings or long apologies. What she misses, if you do this right, is the emotional stability, leadership, and masculine grounding you brought into her world, but only if you stop trying to remind her of it. The moment you start over-communicating, over-explaining, or chasing, you strip away your power, and worse, you make her decision to leave feel justified. Instead, let her feel what life is like without you, not in anger, not in silence meant to manipulate, but in detached, consistent absence. Women don't process regret when you're still emotionally available. They process it when they can no longer reach you, when they're left alone with their thoughts, their doubts, their second guessing. That's the space you need to create, not to get her back, but to allow the natural law of emotional gravity to pull her toward what she once took for granted. She doesn't regret your messages. She regrets losing access to the man who no longer sends them. 6. Don't close the gap. Make her cross. Most men fail here. The moment space shows up, they run to close it. She pulls away and he texts. She gets distant and he plans a grand gesture, but that instinct, that fear of space, is exactly what ruins your value. When you rush to close the gap, you communicate one thing: I can't exist without you. And that mindset, it's deeply unattractive, because power lies in stillness, in letting the gap breathe. Let her wonder. Let her feel the space she created. Let her deal with the silence without you trying to break it. If she's meant to come back, she'll cross that space on her own. But if you chase her across it, you rob her of the very process that would have brought her back. Make her cross the gap, because that's the only way she'll value the man on the other side. 7. Trust the power of time, not talk. Most men are obsessed with timing, but in the wrong way. They think if they act fast enough, text at the right moment, or say the perfect words before she forgets them, they can somehow reverse the outcome. But in reality, time is your greatest ally, not your enemy. When you stop talking, when you remove yourself from the conversation completely, something interesting happens. She starts to feel the weight of silence. Not immediately, not in the first few days, but slowly, over time, curiosity starts to creep in. What is he thinking? Why hasn't he said anything? Why does he seem fine without me? Those questions don't come from your words, they come from your absence over time. And that's where the shift begins. Because when someone is no longer exposed to your presence daily, they either forget you or they begin to miss the version of you that was consistent, calm, and real. If you talk too soon, you reset the clock, you fill in the blanks for her, you relieve her from the discomfort of wondering what went wrong. But if you remain silent, and focus entirely on your own growth, she begins to question her own decision. You need to give her the time to realize what she lost. And more importantly, you need to give yourself time to realize what you deserve. So let the days pass, let the weeks go. Let her scroll through old memories without any new ones being added. Let time rewrite the emotional story, not with your voice, but with your silence. She'll come back, not because you begged, but because time showed her what you never said. 8. Become the man who doesn't need her return. This is the ultimate paradox. The more you try to get her back, the less likely she'll return. But the moment you stop needing her, stop obsessing, stop hinging your future on her presence, that's when the energy flips. You need to become the man who doesn't need her to return in order to feel whole. This isn't just about detachment. It's about liberation. You reclaim every part of yourself that was outsourced to her opinion, her attention, and her validation. Ask yourself, who are you when she's not watching? Who are you when no one's checking in? Who are you when you have nothing left to prove? That man, the one who doesn't need an audience, is the most dangerous version of yourself because he doesn't wait for permission to evolve. He evolves because that's who he is. Women sense this shift. It's not loud, it's not posted online, but it's undeniable. You begin walking, speaking, and living differently. Not because you want her back, but because you've remembered who you were before the attachment. And here's the kicker. When she comes back, and she will, she's going to meet a version of you she no longer controls. That's the true win. Not her return, but your self-respect. So become that man, the one who doesn't hope, he builds, the one who doesn't wait, he moves. And if she returns, fine. But if she doesn't, you already became everything you were meant to be without her. 9. Let her feel the void. You left, not the effort you gave. When relationships end, men often obsess